Welcome to Elite Broker, the podcast showcasing the leading players and stories of success from Australia's broking industry.
Hi and welcome back. It's your host for today, Annie Kane, bringing you another episode of Elite Broker. And this week we've got a Sydney-based broker in the form of Eva Loisance joining us here in the studio to talk about her journey over at Finni. Now, you might know Eva from a lot of the work she's been doing at the mortgage brokerage Finni, and of course, lots of commentary that she's provided to us kindly here on both the Advisor and our sister title Broker Daily over the years, and recently was appointed the principal at Finni. So in this episode of Elite Broker, we're picking her brain about how she's been building the brokerage, how she got to where she is today, and what her plans are for the brokerage in future. Welcome, Eva. How are you going?
Great. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to talk about this.
I'm so excited to have you on the podcast because Finni actually part of Momentum Group. So we sit quite close to one another. I always hear you guys working away in the broking business. So it's really fun to be able to actually get you on the podcast and talk about what you've been doing at Finni and how you've been growing the business. Now, we've known each other for a few years, but I think, is it right? You've been in finance for about 10 years in Australia now?
Yeah, correct.
And about 4 or 5 at Finni.
Oh, just about to turn 5, yeah.
Okay, cool, exciting. And over that time, the brokerage has been really building quickly. I mean, 5 years is not a mature business, but look at the volume you're doing already. I think last financial year settled 280 million. You've got 350 mil in applications. You've already got a loan book of $500 million, which is awesome, and hopefully going to get to that $1 billion milestone fairly soon. So looking at really ramping up for growth, getting there very, very quickly. And I think that's super impressive considering also Finni is a pretty small team. So let's unpack, I guess, the whole journey of how Finni got to where it is today and how you got involved with it. So let's start off with, I guess, with first and foremost, how long you've been broking for and why you became a broker to begin with.
So I've been broking for just over 10 years. And I guess coming to Australia, obviously I didn't know anything about broking. That was not my trade.
You were a lawyer, weren't you?
Yeah, I was in business law back in France. But coming here, not really knowing what I was getting into, I realized that I just couldn't be one here. I would have to go back to uni. I would have to go back to learning the job
Different
here.
law, yeah.
Yeah, and I just, at the time, I just could not picture myself going back to uni for years before I could get into working. So when I first came here, like obviously I was like, well, I'm here, I've got no job, right? So I need to get into something else. So just look at what I like doing and what is my passion is like properly helping people, getting into numbers, sitting, planning strategies, finding niche ways around things. And I'm like, well, broking could be a good fit for me. Mm-hmm. So I applied for a job. I got a job. That wasn't the right company at the time. Then I moved to another one where I stayed 5 years as well. Just, I guess, developed my skills as a broker and, you know, the hard part of it and more complex lending. And I got stuck there where, well, what's next? There's no creativity anymore. And found Finni just being a startup with nothing in place, literally. I just came here and I was given a computer.
Yeah,
off you go.
Off you go. Sink or swim. And I think this is always really interesting seeing how people get to where they are. And just going back to your first few jobs, so did you start off immediately as a broker or were you doing like the loan processing side of things first?
No, actually where I started was like broking.
So did you have to find your own leads and everything? Can you remember what your first loan was?
No, actually. So, it was funny because I got the job before I actually got the certification. And, you know, broking is very easy to get into. You just do a Cert 4, which I did in 3 days, smashed through it. I'm like, yep, on Monday I'm starting. I had certification. So at the time, that job, you had to spend 3 weeks, I think, actually cold calling to get into knowing, okay, what the question you should ask, how do you get people in, how do you close a lead, right? And then once you knew how to do that enough, they would move you into more senior lead generating position where you would then start also doing the full appointment with those leads and then another 3 weeks maybe. And you would actually do broking role.
Okay.
So that was easy in terms of, it was nothing complex to those leads. It was just, you've got a rate, I don't know, at the time it was like 5%, or you can get 4.5, let's refinance. So there was nothing complex into it, but it got me into knowing what's the process, what question to ask, what to look out for, what not to miss, and the whole, I guess, journey of talking to someone and settling them. It's a long journey. It can be very quick, but it can be very complicated if you miss bits and bobs in the middle.
Yeah. So you were kind of like learning the ropes as you were doing it, really.
Totally.
Yeah, which I think is kind of an unusual route. I think a lot of people when they first start, particularly if they've come from out of industry, they'll kind of come underneath someone normally as like a sort of CSM or like a credit analyst type role, and then kind of get to grips with the thing. You did it the hard way. You just sort of started straight.
Cold calling is not easy.
yeah, and like also that's a hard way of generating leads as well. But eventually you joined Finni. You were given a laptop. Off you went. How did you find your first clients?
So Finni had, through Momentum Markets, a lot of relationship with accountants, buyers, agents, and others professional who would, I guess, trust already Momentum business being Finni to give us a go, right? So from that we got leads. When I came, there was already one other broker, no longer with us at Finni. But I guess the hard part there was there's nothing in place to actually deal with those leads.
Yeah.
So it was easy to pick up the phone, call them, what do you want to do? How do we actually do it? It's not enough to just have a computer. So we had to get an aggregator, we had to put process in place, we had to, like who is doing what at what time. So that took a long time to agree, I guess, and to put things in place, while also talking to people, while also trying to generate leads, while also trying to get everything going,
Yeah, starting a business, it's tough work. So how did you end up choosing your aggregator?
So I actually, I guess, went with what I knew from my previous business, because there was so much to look at.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, at least I know this. I know how to work this. Yeah. Let's just go with that.
And that was Connective?
Connective, yeah.
And are you still with Connective?
We're still with Connective.
So that's good. So you're still satisfied with the offering, I suppose, then?
Yeah, I actually wouldn't know what's
on the other side
enough to choose. And I guess the idea of moving things, it's so daunting that I wouldn't even consider it.
Yeah. And it is difficult. Like I know a lot of brokers who have changed aggregate in the past are like, oh, there's like weeks of downtime because it takes, and then you've got to learn, as you say, a whole new system. So it's a big, you've got to make a real commitment to move if you do want to move, which is why people don't do it very often. And then you chose your aggregator. You then had to think about, okay, well, what process are we going to follow? Who does what? So what did you end up like settling on, and also what did you try, like what didn't work? Yeah,
so for the first 2 years really there wasn't enough people there to delegate, so we
had to
do everything from calling a lead to settling it and talking to solicitors and everybody. So that was a bit difficult. Then we tried the path of having maybe para brokers, so I guess younger people that are just starting in the business, and that honestly that was a nightmare.
Because you had to undo their work, or
undo their work, just not really keen to work at all, just not willing to learn, just doing their own thing. It was just difficult.
Yeah.
So that was probably for a year. Didn't really work out, and I guess that was a bit like post-COVID. People didn't want to come to an office, and it's really hard to teach somebody this type of thing, and especially conversation and sales, I guess, in some ways, when you're not next to each other.
Yeah, it is tough. I think you kind of like, especially in broking when you're new, you kind of need to learn from someone else, or like at least hear what's going on.
Yeah,
and if you've got questions, being able to answer them. So yeah, doing it remotely, I'm sure many people remember in COVID how difficult it was if they were hiring.
It's doable. We work mainly from home, but it's all experienced people now, very experienced. So there's less need for constant feedback and questions and training. So that didn't work for us at that time. And then I just let's go overseas.
Okay.
And build a team overseas in the Philippines with people that knew already what they were doing, didn't need so much, training.
Yeah.
And then they took a big part of that process.
So outsourced to, which company did you use?
We use Cloud Staff,
yeah. And that's, I think, also really great seeing so many more people now do this. I think back in maybe 5-6 years ago, outsourcing was still seen as kind of like something that people hesitated about. They're kind of like, oh, I'm not really sure. Like, what's the quality going to be like? And I kind of want to know exactly what they're doing, and I don't want people talking to my clients or seeing my client information. Whereas I think now we've got so many companies that specialize in broking that have got heaps of experience. That a lot of the staff members that now service like power brokers from overseas. In these companies are amazing and do a great job. Do you do that per file? Like, how does that system work?
So we started I guess started with me. My need was like, well, I've got the file approved and I've spent so much time trying to get it settled. So first we got someone to settle our file. Just do that. It's approved. You don't need to know anything. Just settle it.
Yeah.
So we got that. Then we got someone to take leads to actually book them in. At least take that.
Yeah.
Bits by bits.
Yeah.
Bits by bits. And now we've got, I guess, people also looking at the file and preparing the file for us to just assess it, decide, and then also do the admin. So our, I guess, admin time gets reduced and reduced as we get.
For the broker.
Yeah.
So if you're, as a broker, if you're kind of like getting a lead in through the door, I imagine most of your work is then client facing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then does everyone in the team kind of service all the brokers, or do you have your own
We
admin
have our
staff?
own, yeah.
So each person sort of has
We used to
their own.
have not enough to have our own, so we would share, and it just got very difficult to know what are they doing, who are they working with, what are they doing now, and to put urgency on some files.
Yeah.
So we decided to have, each broker has his own admin and go with that.
And what kind of loans are you specialising in, or are you generalists?
Yeah, so we would do a lot, like 90% are investors, from first-time investors to very complex investing structures.
Fun.
Fun.
And so when you look at then how you're like kind of servicing these clients' needs, because investor lending at the moment is booming. I mean, if we look at the stats from, the ABS or from any of the aggregators, more than a third of all loans now are going to investors. Why do you think that is?
I think they are the only one that understand that it's actually easy to get in the market, where first-home buyers and just owner-occupied homes, like when you talk to those people, you see so much difference in mindset of it's hard, I had to put that together, it's too expensive, I just can't do it. And then the same person in terms of assets, liabilities and income with an investing mindset, it's like, yeah, it's easy, just let's get this going and the next one and the next one. And we're talking the same
socio-demographics.
Yes.
Yeah, but just different risk appetites.
Yeah, not just different mindset.
Yeah.
Because, that someone on 100K can say, I can't afford to buy a house. And the same person on 100K will have 2 investment properties.
Yeah. So what do you think it is that is driving people to invest? Like, what is it about the investor mindset that kind of gives them that confidence to do it?
I think it comes from people realizing and putting things black and white on paper that it works. Just knowing what the others don't know, didn't look for. And again, it's a mindset, and also I think it's inherited from, I guess, the tradition of you buy a house, you pay it off, and that's it. And it's that maybe I've worked in the past, it's just not enough anymore.
Yeah,
people will struggle just with that.
Yeah. So looking at how you're servicing clients and everything, we'll talk about, I think, the operational side of broking in a little bit. But if you kind of look at, I guess, how you've built the business over the last 5 years. I mean, you kind of have gone from broker to you've been a manager, you've had to do everything, and now you're the principal. So you're kind of really looking at leading the business forward. But over that time, you've kind of seen like different business models. As you said, you've had different like makeup in the team, you've had different processes. You've kind of had to do trial and error, which I think many people will do when they start a small business. What do you think is the best like thing you've done at Finni to kind of take your business to success?
Good question. I think just believe in it, because at some stage it's like, there's always people that just don't work out or process that don't work, and it's like you just one step forward, 3 steps backwards, and you could just do like it's just too hard, just give up. I think that there's such a good base in the business, and it always was, to think, well, it doesn't matter if that didn't work, something else will, and just believe in we'll find a solution for that as we go. And we did, and it's growing and it's growing and it's growing, and we'll do heaps more next year.
Yeah.
So I think it's just not to give up,
Yeah.
And same mindset as the investor is like, it's going to work. It's working. It's worked for other people. So we make it work.
Yeah. And so nowadays, when you kind of look at generating leads, because obviously when you first start a business, it's very different to an established business. You can kind of, when you first start, you kind of need leads from everywhere. But when you get more established, you're almost having to kind of sometimes turn the tap off because you're a bit like, I've got too much business. How do you now generate new client?
So a lot of it would come from, I guess, trusted referral partners, where we know we're not wasting our time with clients just chasing the best broker or the best leads or the best rates.
Yeah.
Which can be sometimes very draining when people do that and they send us email from the other brokers like, can you bid this? I'm like, I'm not even interested.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow I do your loan and you'll refinance somewhere else. So that's not the type of client we want to deal with at all. So a lot of it would come from buyer's agents, financial planners, accountants, and I do a podcast as well on the SPI.
Yeah.
A lot of people listen to that and come to us from that, knowing that we really are experts in investing.
Yeah, SPI being the Smart Property Investment Show. They've got a huge podcast channel of property investors. They're all obsessed. I know that Phil Tarrant, one of the directors of Momentum, who hosts that podcast a lot, he gets followed around by investors. They recognize his voice and they're like, oh my goodness. So excited to meet him. It's lovely to see. But yeah, so lots of investors through the podcast. Do you think that's basically because they kind of hear you, they trust you, like that's sort of why they're coming to you, or do you think it's something else?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And when we ask them, how did you hear about us? And it's like, well, I've had this broker for a few years and we're sort of getting stuck and he's crossing our properties and we know we shouldn't do that because we heard it on a podcast, or they know their brokers have reached a certain limit there on what they can do. And what we do is really, I guess, different, because you don't want to make the mistake that will get you stuck at 2 properties or whatever it might be. And I think people understand that when they talk to us, we have this long-term vision of, well, if you do this today, this is what would happen. If you do this, this is what would happen. We need to make sure what we're doing today enables you for whatever you want to do in the future.
Yeah, so you're not stuck with a loan that if you decide you want to buy 4 more properties, you can't.
Yeah, or buy your home or sell or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll talk about how you actually do that and your kind of operational tools and tech that you're using. And we'll get into that just after this message. So looking at how you actually talk to investors and structure them, because I think this is a big part of what you do and a big part of what so many brokers who specialize in investment loans are brilliant at, is being like, well, what is the right structure for you? How do you get there? Maybe give me an idea firstly. What is maybe a client who's got like, what's the average client look like in terms of number of investment properties?
It's hard to say, but I guess the average or the medium would have 3 properties.
Okay, and what's the most?
The most we had I could mention a very wealthy accountant that had more than 100.
100 properties?
Yeah, so we try to do...
Basically a developer.
Yeah, that's very rare. You know, I guess people would get... I don't want to get stuck because it's not stuck, but would have like 10, 15.
Yeah.
And then I think there's like a ceiling there as well of what people can take to manage.
That's a lot of admin.
That's a lot of admin. So most people would have 3, 4. I guess higher income earners would go 6 to 8. After 10, you would need people that also have a certain mindset to. That's not every day.
Yeah, or have property managers or something, like someone to deal
Even
with
then,
it for you. Yeah.
I think it's a lot too.
Yeah. Well, that's good for you guys, though. I mean, lots of business coming your way and lots of people obviously interested in sort of looking at buying property. Do you do any other kind of loans, though? Do you do like asset finance or commercial finance?
We do. We refer asset to our aggregator. It takes 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a very easy thing to do. So sometimes, talking to people, that we realize they need a new car loan or the car loan is not
Great.
what it should be. So we do that, I guess, on the side. But that's not a big part of, I guess, the time we spend on it. And we do commercial
property. Yeah. And when you go to actually, I guess, let's say someone comes online, because it's mostly online, hey, you don't really kind of do a lot of face-to-face sort of client engagement. So you're talking to your clients, and I guess as well for investors, they kind of want to just do it quickly and remotely in their own time, whenever they've got the time. When you kind of like actually get your first initial conversation, walk me through the process, like what happens next?
So talking to the client, we need to find out everything. and not just what they are at now, but what's the plan. So often they say, I just want to buy my next property. And I think that's where a lot of brokers would stop. It's like, well, what after that? Are you thinking of buying another one, or are you looking to sell it to buy a home, or are you looking to buy maybe one more, two more? What's your plan with your job? Are you having kids? Are you taking time off? All of that has a huge impact on why and how we're going to do that next loan.
So can you give me an example of how it would differ depending on the answer?
Well, let's say somebody that is looking to invest hard in the next few years. If we do the next loan and let's say structure it in a way that doesn't have enough income to service the next loan, that we're going to have an issue there. So we need also to match them with a buyer's agent that will have a property that has good yield or a good growth, or that doesn't take too much equity from their home, or that will... There's so many moving parts there.
Yeah.
And it's very important that also not only the loan is good, but the property that is plugged with that loan to allow for whatever is next. So it could be someone, okay, well, I just want to buy that property to enables me to buy my home. And that has to be a property that will have high growth, because we need that cash for the next property. It's okay if it's maybe negatively geared for a few years, as long as the growth is there. But if it's someone that, want to keep going, well, it might be high growth, but if it's negatively geared, that will slow you down for the next one. So we have to play with all those numbers, and it's very specific to each circumstance.
Yeah. So I guess this is again where referral partners come in so key, because you need the financial planners and the accountants.
You need your team. And I know it's cliche, you hear that all the time, and but you need the great team. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work otherwise. Yeah.
And of course, when it comes to complicated finances, you want to make sure you're not kind of setting them up for failure.
Yeah.
They've got something that they can actually use.
And people change their mind, and that's also the hard part.
Do you do much then once you kind of have decided the strategy? Do you then kind of yourself as a broker go, right, these are the different options, or do your kind of support staff help you come up with the servicing and the lender recommendations?
So what our staff is doing is really prepping the file as much as they can. They put very solid, thorough notes on what the client is at now. Put all the figures into our calculators, and then we go in, and then in 5 minutes we can very quickly see, okay, well, it has to go there, or it has to go there, and we present that to our clients. I do not want them to make that decision.
You want to be recommending one?
I want to choose. I want to make sure I choose the right thing. I don't think someone, it could be they have experience as well, but I think that's the broker mind and skill, I guess, to decide what bank, what lender, and how it should be structured.
Yeah. Okay. And then when it comes to choosing, because you said about you kind of then, once you've done all the servicing, everything, which lender it goes through. Do you use any tools or tech to do that?
So I'm sure a lot of brokers, we have tools to retrieve statements, to retrieve the documents, to do calculation quickly. It's very big. I think you'd be a fool as a broker not to use them. I just find at the moment, though, the AI tools that are there are just not there, not good enough. So
can I ask what you've used?
Tools to prep emails or listen to conversation, do summaries. I found that quite clunky still. Or even we went to a business summit for tools for brokers, and they did a demo there on someone talking to a client asking question for servicing. It was just poor. If I was a client and I had that experience, I would never call that company again.
Wow. There we go. I mean, interesting, because it's fun. We always talk about the tools and tech that brokers are using. It's interesting seeing what you think works and what doesn't. So mostly using kind of your aggregator and Quickly as the two main ones. Nexus and Mercury Nexus and Quickly, yeah. And then when it gets to settlement, so you've said this is the loan I think you should take. The client has hopefully agreed. Then you get to the settlement period. What happens next?
So I'm glad to say I don't know what happens next, because I don't do it anymore. But what happens next is we've got someone in our Philippines team really taking over that and driving the process of you got the loan docs, you need to sign the loan docs, you need to return the loan docs. A lot of that is signed now, which is great.
Yeah.
It's easy. And then to deal with the solicitors and banks to book settlement. So I think that process, thanks to COVID, got made a lot easier from the lenders themselves.
Yeah. So now you've got 4 brokers plus you, is that right?
Yeah, from brokers, yeah.
So, and you're settling about, you've got 350 mil in applications for this financial year, which is pretty good going, I must say. So over 100 mil each, basically, or around 100 mil each, basically. That's bad maths. About 80 mil each, let's say, which is great. So how do you then kind of find who does what business? Like, do you have to generate your own leads? Do leads come in and then you assign them? How do you kind of do that?
So, and that's what's been hard in our business is we only get really experienced brokers. I don't want people that just have a lead and like, oh, I don't know what to do with that. So we get a lead and then it's allocated to whoever is free at the time the client wants to chat.
Okay. So it's basically done like availability. And do you use any kind of like, does the client get to choose or do you assign the broker? Like, you know, like if you're going to go to a hairdresser, you'll be like, oh, I want whichever hairdresser is free at that time. Or if you go to like a doctor,
so
you'll be like, that one.
If it's a brand new client, they will go to whoever is free at the time they want to talk. And again, everybody can do the same.
Yeah.
I trust them 100%. There's no like a newish. They all have like 10 years plus.
Yeah.
If it's someone that's already been through the process with us, often they will want to chat to the same person.
Yeah.
So they come back to us, or sometimes they've just heard someone on the podcast and they want to talk us. Oh, I've heard Rebecca talking about expat lending. I'd like to be matched with them. Okay. That's fine too.
Yeah. So do you actually then all do everything? I think you just said that, but you don't have niches. So it's not like Rebecca would do expat lending only. She would have kind of everything.
Yeah. We all can do a lot of it. Obviously, some people have more keen interest on expat or self-employed or SMSF. So if it gets to a client that really, let's say, complex self-employed expat that wants to do an SMSF, well, maybe that will be more suited to...
A self-employed expat that wants to do SMSF, that sounds horrific.
That sounds horrific.
And especially if they have like 10 properties. No, thank you.
No, thank you.
But yeah.
No availability.
That can be somebody else's client. Yeah, thanks. But where do you then kind of look at actually doing that whole process? I mean, so you all can kind of do everything. You're not actually, apart from passion, there's no like...
Yes, correct.
There's no specialists.
Yeah, like we would settle probably 100 to 150 clients each a year.
Yeah.
That's a lot of scenarios we've seen, right?
Yeah.
So there's not many that we were like, oh, I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah. And then when it comes to actually kind of, I guess, marketing and sort of building the business brand, because this is also part of what it takes to be a business principal, is kind of being like, well, how do I evolve the brand? How do I keep it growing? And you've already mentioned the podcast. Do you do anything else, like, you know, in terms of like sponsorships or any other kind of like community engagement?
Yes, we haven't done anything until then.
Yeah.
Which is amazing how much we've grown with doing no marketing at all. So we're just starting that now. And that's in, I guess, the pipeline for this financial year to really grow the business, have a bigger presence online, and just actually show what we do. And I don't think there's many brokers that are really specializing in investing. And that's really what we do well.
Yeah, awesome. And when it comes to referral partners as well, I mean, obviously with investing, you've got lots of key partners. You mentioned buyer's agents already as an example. Like, how do you choose ones to work with? Like, how do you sort, especially in buyer's agency, there's lots of people becoming buyer's agents.
Yes, lots of them.
How do you choose the good ones? How do you know what a good buyer's agent looks like?
Well, I guess as soon as you see the property they're buying, you would know. So, you know, if it's people that just buy units of the plane, or there's red flags.
You don't like offer plan?
I don't like of the plan units in CBDs, you know.
Okay, I was just saying, why?
As an investment
you just don't think
vehicle.
It's good yield?
As an investment vehicle, I think that has slowed down a lot of people. I've seen that having slowed down a lot of people.
Interesting.
Myself included.
Oh, really? Okay, well, that's actually interesting. So obviously, you're a property investor, but like, how much does your own experience influence what you do as a broker?
Not so much in like property choosing and structure, but just as the mistake I've made along the way, and we've all made it when I didn't have that team at the time, you know? Just relying on yourself, and you think you just know better for some reason. So I'm very open to share with the clients I talk to, like, I made that mistake at that time, and that's exactly where you are now. So you go left or right, that's going to be a huge have a huge impact on what's next.
Yeah. And then when you go to, I guess, sort of providing good customer service, like what for you is the mark of great customer service?
I think that obviously to me is getting nice review and also getting people saying, well, can you talk to my brother, sister, friend?
Referrals, yeah. Do you actually ask for reviews and referrals?
We do. We have a team as well, actually, in South Africa, that one.
In South Africa?
Yeah, calling people.
It's a global business.
A global business to just ask back, how did you go? Was it good enough? Any feedback? Would you mind putting a review? Do you have, anyone that we can help as well? And that's actually a big source of leads as well.
Really? How many leads do you, what percentage of leads do you reckon comes from that?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't. But close to, I'd say almost every lead you have would have somebody that could use your service, right? Yeah. Everyone knows someone that needs a mortgage. So.
Yeah. And then when it comes to, I guess, the future of a brokerage, I mean, this is always the big question is being well, where do you go from here and how do you grow? And now that you're in your new role as well, you're kind of going to have to wear a slightly different hat as principal rather than just being a broker, not just, but, being the broker, kind of now also being a manager. That comes with a whole other pile of challenges. And I'd love to delve into them, but we'll just take a quick break and we'll be back in a moment. So, Eva, you recently got named the principal of Finni, so congratulations to you. What do you think this will look like? How are you going to kind of, I guess, change what you do day to day? Do you see it kind of changing your role?
Yeah, I think it will enhance what I was trying to do, not having the role before.
I was basically the boss without being the boss.
I think there's a lot of things that I would have liked to do for the business earlier that it just wasn't for me to decide, or I just got some roadblocks.
Like what?
There's a few shareholders in the business, and it's making decisions that are aligned with whatever everybody wants to do, and sometimes it's just hard when people don't agree or don't have the same vision for the business. It's like, well, you actually don't go anywhere; you just in standstill. Yeah. So I think that's been a little bit of a challenge for me. At sometimes to be like, well, then we just do nothing. We just keep plugging along and just adding brokers and leads. And I guess that's fine to a level, but when you want to really grow, that's not enough.
And so what do you want to do to grow?
So there's a few things. You mentioned the marketing, which I think is really what we need to do now and have a presence in the investing space. With AI coming, I think there will be a time where your basic broker doesn't exist, which is fine. I think it's good. It will get rid of a lot of the clients that anyway don't really need us and waste time sometimes with us when they could just, maybe apply online. What we do though is sometimes so complex, and I see it, and again, AI goes quickly, but what's available now is far from ready to take over complex, maybe even a commercial deal. So I guess it's just really ascertain our position there in that space of complex investment.
And I think this is what we're kind of seeing at the moment in market. A lot of the major banks, particularly, I think, kind of really putting a lot of focus into digitization and AI in home lending, looking at that kind of, straightforward loan, if there is such a thing, and kind of being like, that's where we want to take a lot of pie. I mean, Macquarie is a great example as well, I think, although obviously mostly broker-led, but really dominating in relatively straightforward loans, I should say.
And that's great for us too, because, we send an application within hours, it's approved.
Exactly. So kind of that works, and you kind of know that works. But with the advent of AI and how it's learning and what it's doing, I can also see, as you say there, a lot more people willing to use it with open banking, for example, as well. If it's in your bank account, when you log into your app and you can see, hey, by the way, you're pre-approved already for XYZ amount, you'd be like, all right, well, let's go. So you can see that happening.
Yeah, totally.
But where, of course, the broker proposition comes in is that advice piece, which is what I think you were saying there about really needing that structure, really needing the advice of the long-term and credit advice. So I think that's
I'll give you a great example. Actually, I read not long ago. Wasn't our clients, but that huge mistake. So somebody read online that offset and redraw sort of the same thing, which they are. Sort of the same. Sort of the same. So what happened is that person had they owner-occupy a property with a loan, decided, I don't need the offset. I would just put all my money in redraw. And then what's happened is a few years later, which was always the plan for them, is they decided to get that property into, change that property into an investment and buy a new home, a better home.
Yeah.
So what happened is, let's say the loan was 500,000. They had 200K in redraw. They took that 200K to buy their home. What happened there is when they changed the investment, the home into an investment property, the 500K loan, if the money had been put in the offset, would become fully tax deductible. Now, because they put the money in redraw, only 300 was tax deductible because they changed the purpose of that 200 to buy an owner-occupier property.
Mm-hmm.
AI won't tell you this, but that makes a huge impact on how much tax deduction they will have on the tax return and what they can do in the future. Yeah, offset and redraw, kind of the same.
Kind of the same,
kind
but
of the same.
big
But if you don't have the advisor
yeah.
that tells you what, that's your plan. Do not put money in redraw, or you're really going to cut yourself short for tax deduction.
Yeah. And again, working super closely with your accountant, hopefully they know that. But if they don't, hopefully they have a good broker that knows that.
Yeah. And I think that makes a big difference as well. All our brokers have, one of them used to be an accountant. One of them worked in credit. Like, we have a very, very good understanding of taxation and how it works.
Yeah.
And that would make a difference to someone that said, oh, you don't need an offset. Well, you do.
Yeah.
Do
you find also, because you used to be a lawyer, do you kind of like ever go through the contracts with like a fine-tooth comb? Is that like a professional hazard for you?
No, because they are copy-paste, all of them. And there's just a few lines that literally change clients to clients. So, and yeah, they're really...
straightforward.
Most of them, yeah.
So when you think about the hardest things you've kind of had to do as a broker, and thank you for being so honest about like a lot of the challenges. I think it's always refreshing to hear, like, you know, genuinely it's hard work and you have to kind of do trial and error a lot of the time, and many brokers have been in the same position. What's been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome in your career as a broker?
As a broker, I think it's the burnout. And I think it's a lot of them, and less now because we've got team and we've got process. But the first few years of just having to do everything, with growing as well, it's not just I've got, let's say, 100 clients. I need to get them to the finish line, and I would be fine. Now they keep coming, so there's never a break.
Yeah,
there's never a break. I remember finding myself during COVID at home when you can't get out, you can't get a break. Like I was working like 12, 14 hours sometimes, like even more. And because you're home as well, the computer's there. You never show. That was my biggest challenge, to learn to be like, well, you know what, that's enough.
Yeah,
for
the
the
work
day.
is always going to be there.
There's always going to be more work. You never finish your day. That was my
So how do you now manage that? Because I think a lot of people, particularly with sole brokers, lots of people now being like, is it even possible to be a sole broker without any help? Because it is so hard.
Yeah, if you want to do big numbers, I think that would be really hard.
Yeah. So how do you now manage your time and your own well-being to kind of try and avoid burnout?
Yeah, I try to. I've got kids, which I think helps. And when they come back from school and be like, well, that's it. I do not look at my phone. I do not look at my computer, which before, it's like, well, I might just do this. I might just do that. It's less for tomorrow, but there's always more. So I think having kids reminds you, well, there's more than just work, and you need to spend time with them. So, I do have this time, like now, I just not look at anything.
Yeah. Well, then you're going to have to work quite efficiently before, because school finishes at what, 3?
Yeah, there's.
So do you work after as well, or do you kind of start earlier?
School, yeah, there's after school care and all that.
Yeah,
not just 3, but you just manage. I find also having kids makes you so much more productive.
Yeah, you've got to work faster.
Yeah, I just went like that.
Yeah,
because you just know you've got to do everything in that time frame. So you don't look at your phone, you don't procrastinate, you just do it because it has to be done.
Yeah.
Within that time frame.
And so we talked about the biggest challenge there, and when it looks like the other side and the optimistic side. So what has been the best thing in your career so far? I
just absolutely love seeing people getting to what they want. Actually, I've got a client coming face to face today. I met him probably 6 or 7 years ago. He followed me company to company. He bought his properties through a family pledge. A few years later, he's like, well, I need to release my parent from the pledge now. I'd like to make a second level in my house for the kids. He's got kids, got second level. Now he's looking to invest. Like having the journey with them and seeing them achieving
more
what they want. I
yeah.
just find that so rewarding. I just love it.
Yeah.
And then, most time you'd be on the phone, but they're like, no, we want to come and see you in the office and let's have a catch up. Like they become part of, why you're doing things.
Yeah. And you kind of become friends, sounds like.
totally.
You're like involved in their life.
Yeah.
I love that. So let's look at then the industry as a whole. So you've been in the industry now for about a decade. What has been, like, have there been anything that you've sort of seen in broking that you're like, you know what, I wish this was different, or something that you wish you could fix?
Yeah, it's quite a few things.
Go on then.
I think the amount of compliance that is slowing us down to get through things is quite big. I think that's a big part of why people that comes in the industry leave pretty quickly. I guess I went straight as it was being built on, so you sort of get used to, okay, one more thing. But when I would, as a broker now, if I started now, I'd be like, oh my God, it's a lot compared to what people have to do if they just walk into a branch.
Yeah.
And get approved on the spot. It's like, why is it so different?
Yeah.
And I've lost clients where I'm like, I'm sorry, we got to the point where it's submitted, the bank says no. They walk into the same bank, same, system of approving loans, they get to yes.
Yeah.
It's like so frustrating. So I think it should be a blanket way of assessing things. And then there's always, and it comes back often, but the clawback system is quite, can be quite damaging, I think, especially newer broker getting into it.
Yeah, I actually did a podcast the other day with someone who said his first clawback was actually his sister. And I was like, wow. But it was no fault of her own, though, that she went through a separation.
Yeah, things happen.
Yeah, things happen. And I think this is where, I think, again, that's where it's really unfair, where it's something where it's like, this is I cannot control this. Like, this has nothing to do with how I will operate as a broker.
I understand why it's been there, but I think the two-year period is...
Would you like to see it just to be a year?
Yeah, 6 to 12 months I think is fair. That avoids, I guess, why...
The churn
and why that was there in the first place. And I think that's totally fair. But 2 years is a long time. Most people would refinance within that time frame. That's what we're pushing as well, our clients to check every 2 years or less. So, and people often, move places, sell, needs,
Yeah, and in this environment as well, in a rate reducing cycle at the moment, so loads of people looking at refinancing or repricing and moving around. So it
that's
can be
right.
difficult.
And a few years ago there was the rebates everywhere. So people would literally refinance every few months to get the $3,000 or $4,000.
The paperwork.
So that's I guess it's like, well, banks, you're taking clawbacks, but at the same time you're offering those rebates that. I find like the system is a little bit broken there.
Okay, so clawbacks and compliance easing. Anything else?
No, I think that's
the two C's. The two C's.
Yeah.
And if you then kind of look to the future, so you've already talked about wanting to grow the business. Do you think you'll ever diversify? Do you think you'll ever change what the brokerage does?
No, I think that's where we get deep is investing, and we do it so well. Whether it's residential or commercial,
And if you had any advice for any brokers just starting out on their journey, or maybe any advice for yourself, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give someone just starting out?
I would just say stick at it, because it's a lot when you start, but after a while it's all the same anyway. So it seems like a lot, but the lot is just constantly the same thing on each file pretty much.
Yeah.
And you will just see it very clearly after a little bit.
Would you advise someone to work underneath another broker?
Yeah. I think that's what I was missing. Took probably maybe 2 years for me to really get everything clearly in my head, because I didn't have that mentor to say, well, that's clearly there, or that's clearly that. And to me, I just had to work it out.
Yeah. Eva, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your story here on Elite Broker, and best of luck with growing the business for FY26. And looking forward to seeing how it all goes.
Thank you.
If you've got any questions for me or for Eva, then do feel free to reach out. You can reach me at editor@theadvisor.com.au, and check out Finni if you want to find out more about what Finni are up to and how they're helping investors on their home loan journeys. Of course, check out other broker stories on the Advisor Podcast Network in the Elite Broker, New Broker, Women in Finance, In Focus and What's Making Headlines podcasts. And we hope to see you soon at one of our events. We've got the Australian Broking Awards coming up at the end of August. The finalists have now been announced. Plus, in September, SME Bootcamp, where you can find out how you can read business financials and help SME clients get to where they need to be. That's both brokers and accountants. And we'll catch you next time for another episode on the Advisor Podcast Network.